Okay, so this is your normal 2 foot by 2 foot skylight. This has a metal retainer frame and a base to the skylight, which is sandwiching the plastic in place. The first step of the process, anything to do with domes, is going to be from the roof. So you get up on the roof, you disassemble the outside of the metal retainer frame from the base of the skylight. And typically there's anywhere from 2 to 5 screws on each side of the skylight. You just go around. Let's take the frame off here. Okay, so now that the screws are removed, we're going to lift off the metal retainer frame from the base. It should just pop right up, and the plastic should still be sitting underneath. So at this point, we're going to just measure the flat edge of the plastic to flat edge of the plastic. And on this one, we have a 25 1/4 square on the width, 25 1/4 square on the length. And then it's always helpful to understand what your flange dimension is. On our skylight here, we have about 1 1/4 flat lip on the outer dome. Typically, the outer dome and the inner dome are sealed together with a foam tape. And typically the overall width and length of the plastic is identical. A lot of times the flange on the inner dome is slightly larger, so about 1.5 inch flat lip on the inside. And then we put that back together. Once you have your measurements, the other thing we want you to focus on is the shape of the plastic. So this is what we call a gradual rise dome, where there's approximately 1.25 inch flat lip. Then it just gradually slopes up to a peak on this dome, about 4.5 inches on the outer dome, 3.25 inches on the inner dome. Then it gradually slopes down and flattens out for 1.25 inches. We'll show you some other images of different styles and shapes. If you have one of those unusual shapes, either a vertical rise or a dome over frame, we'll want you to contact us for some additional suggestions on how to replace those domes. Once you've got your measurements, we're going to just put the metal retainer cap back down on top, reassemble the frame, if at this point your old domes are so brittle or decaying that they're so cracked that you may want to throw a tarp over it before you get off the roof. One of the other things that's helpful to look at is if your flange is slightly larger than our flange, you can always measure the opening of the retainer frame just to make sure that our dome portion of our skylight is going to pop out through the opening of your frame. On this particular frame, the frame opening, 23.5, and my dome on this one is going to measure about 22.75 by 22.75. So there's usually a slight little gap between where the retainer frame meets the flat edge of the plastic before it starts to gradually slope up.